Welcome to AniMay17, your daily dose of anime every day in May. I'm your host, JanitorJoey, and join me as I give my thoughts on 31 different anime shows and movies during this month. Let's kick things off with the 2004 anime adaptation, The Count of Monte Cristo, Gankutsuo. Gankutsuo is a gorgeous sci-fi reimagining of the classic 19th century French novel The Count of Monte Cristo, where a delicious deep-fried sandwich rises in social stature to seek revenge against the cook who made him. Okay, not exactly. To be honest, I'd heard the name, but had no prior knowledge of the story before diving into this spectacle of a show. The real opening of Gankutsuo takes place in the 51st century, during a raucous festival on Luna, the Earth's moon. Viscount Albert de Morcerf and Baron Franz d'Epinay, childhood friends, while partaking in the festivities, overhear about a self-made nobleman by the moniker of the Count of Monte Cristo. Albert crosses paths with the Count after an opera performance, and later receives an invitation to meet over dinner. The Count then rescues Albert from pirates, and in return, Albert promises to induct the Count into the upper class of the Paris elite. The art style is instantly noticeable for its use of stunning Photoshop textures overlaid onto the digital animation. The character designs are also highly reminiscent of Ayami Kojima's art for the Castlevania series. The long, elegant facial features and strong 19th century French-inspired wardrobe meld surprisingly well with the advanced technologies like the Count's massive spacecraft. Now, since watching the first few episodes of this series last year, I've seen the 2002 live-action Count of Monte Cristo directed by Kevin Reynolds. As far as I'm aware, the film stays pretty close to the original novel. It's told from the perspective of the Count himself, Edmond Dantes, and begins with his happy life before he's wrongly accused and imprisoned in Chateau d'If for 11 years, and follows chronologically all the way through his escape and his enactment of revenge on those responsible. The weakness I found in this technique, however, is that it completely spoils any mystery or mystique about the Count himself. We see his transformation and are meant to root for him, as he does a bunch of terrible things with zero consequences. Sure, the guys he messes with and kills are all corrupt, greedy people who've wronged him, but the Count has infinite wealth and so many outs to reclaim his happiness without bloodshed. The fact that he gets to have his cake and eat it too really soured any stakes the story may have had. There are no tragic losses or even retribution for his actions. The Count can just buy his way out of any trouble. Gankutsuo, however, is told through Albert's perspective and takes place in the middle of the original story, which is much more interesting and leaves a lot of room for speculation, intrigue, and a stronger sense of doubt in characters' motivations and connections. Albert is a surprisingly likable character for being raised in the lap of luxury. He's trusting and endlessly optimistic despite evidence that his world may be crumbling around him. He's curious, and we get to experience the same wonder and amazement at the sights and sounds of the world outside the walls of Paris, alongside an equally likable cast of friends and his adorable fiancée Eugenie. Most importantly, we can experience the Count as the larger-than-life, mysterious, and incredible badass that he was always meant to be portrayed as. His origins are drip-fed over the course of the series instead of being obvious from the get-go, and all in all, these narrative choices make the story much more interesting and relatable. While the majority of the story is conversational, with equal parts exposition and philosophy, the action scenes are exciting and dramatic and break up the formality. There are plenty of times where I forgot the story takes place 3,000 years in the future, when these aristocrats are sitting for tea, discussing politics in a lavish mansion adorned with romantic period-style paintings. And then, after driving around in these retro-styled automobiles, we see this massive series of walls separating the decrepit, industrial lower-class cities from the lush inner-city wall of Paris. All of these time periods blend together on top of the high fantasy and far future sci-fi to create a truly stunning world of intrigue. I would say there's a bit for everyone in this series, but there's certainly a lot of sitting and talking, and if you can't stand the works of English writers from the 18th to 20th century, there may be a lot of boring scenes. Thankfully, the look of the show is so eye-catching that there's plenty to keep even the most uninterested viewer preoccupied. If the art style is not your taste, or is overly stimulating, then I guess it can't be helped, but it's not often that such a visually interesting show comes around, and I think it's worth praising for that. And we're just getting started. Tune in tomorrow for the next installment of AniMay17. Until next time.